Okay, the time has come. Let's rank the Beatles albums. Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to my album ranking for the Beatles. So I am ranking the 13 UK studio albums, or the 12 UK studio albums and Magical Mystery Tour, which has now become adopted as a UK studio album. I'm not including Past Masters. I'm not including Let It Be Naked, although I will probably talk about that. These are the Magic 13, the Lucky 13, if you like. I'm a big fan of the Beatles. They are my second favourite group. I am fully aware of their significance in history and agree with everything that's said about them regarding that. I love all these albums. I just love some of them more than others. Usual disclaimers, this is my opinion. Feel free to share yours, but, keep it civil. Okay, let's start. Number 13. I agonised over this. My heart says one thing, my head says another. I've gone with my head. So my least favourite Beatles album is Yellow Submarine. I want to put this so much higher because it contains Hey Bulldog, which is my favourite Beatles track. However, at the end of the day, it's only half a Beatles album. It is 6 Beatles tracks out of 13. And some of them have been released elsewhere anyway, so I can't justifiably put it any higher. But let it be said for the record, Hey Bulldog is my favourite Beatles track. I love this album, including the George Martin tracks. But as a Beatles album, it's got to be number 13, I'm afraid. Number 12 is Beatles For Sale. I know it's a bit of a cliche to have this right at the bottom. I re-listened to everything up to and including Revolver just to get it all back into my mind. Everything after that I know. I mean, Revolver I know religiously anyway, but it just gave me an excuse to listen to it again. But just to get them back in my mind, what songs are on what albums, how the albums flow, that sort of stuff. And in my head, Beatles For Sale was my least favourite Beatles album, Yellow Submarine aside. As I started listening to this, I thought, this is a hell of a lot better than I remembered. And then it really tails off towards the end for me. So everything up to certainly 8 Days a Week, possibly Words of Love, was great. Great flow, great set of songs, great performances, really enjoy. And then Honey Don't, I'm not a big lover of. And then after that, it really tails off. Picks up a bit with the last track, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. But certainly Every Little Thing, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, and What You're Doing don't do much for me. And I'm afraid that sort of relegates this album. It's just a shame because I would have quite liked to have, bucked the trend. But no, number 12, Beatles For Sale. I mean, I gave it 7 out of 10. It's still a very good album. Interrupted by a phone call. Number 11 is an album that, on re-listen, sort of went down a bit in my estimation, and that is the debut, Please Please Me. In my head, this was a great, all the stories of it being knocked out in, was it 24, 48, 24 hours? Yeah, it was 24 hours, wasn't it? Just played from start to finish, Lennon's voice being shot at the end, all that sort of stuff. It's a great story, and in my head, this is a great album. But when I listen to it, there's just too, for me, much as I like the style of music, it's not what I want from a Beatles. It's that there's too many sort of musicals type covers. Things like Anna and A Taste of Honey, that sort of stuff. And even some of the originals. There's a Place is very much of that sort of style. There's a lot of good stuff on here. I gave it 7.5. But it's just, Misery even, it's just, they're not what I really want from the Beatles. They're good songs, they're done well, but if I'm listening to a Beatles album, I found it, when I was listening to this album, I just found it took the oomph out of it a bit, basically. So number 11 is Please Please Me, but don't get me wrong, I do love the album. And this one went up a bit in my estimation. This is With the Beatles, which I gave 8 out of 10 if you're interested. I just found that it's similar to Please Please Me, but the covers are sort of better, basically. They've sort of elevated it slightly. It's a fast paced, by and large, album. Less, as I say, less Broadway, if you like. Yeah, so number 10, With the Beatles. Number 9, and I'm not doing the joke, another one I really struggled with where to put, but yes, it's gone here, and it's Let It Be. I sort of love the feel of this album, but then when you consider the songs, there's too many unfinished tracks, just little noodles and things like that. Lennon particularly wasn't really there for this, songwriting wise. It's we're nitpicking now because I'm ranking them. This is everything, I'd say everything from this upwards is masterful albums rather than very good albums that were below it. Yeah, it just doesn't quite hit the songwriting button, if you like. Let It Be Naked I do prefer to this. The inclusion of Don't Let Me Down for a start. I'm not one who sort of rallies against the spectrisation of the album and things like that, but yeah, I do slightly prefer Let It Be Naked, but it would still be in the same position. Okay, next we have Help. So what's it? I've lost count already. That wasn't too bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 8 is Help. I've given this 8 1/4. Love this album. It's lost a little bit because I don't like Act Naturally. It already seems like I'm ragging on Ringo a bit, which isn't strictly true, but I'm not a big lover of his voice and the sort of songs, particularly the country type songs that he does. He does improve on later albums, but no, I'm really not a fan of Act Naturally. It doesn't fit on the album. You've got some wonderful pop and rock songs on here, and then you've got this throwaway country song that, yeah, it just doesn't fit for me on the album. But there's so much great stuff. It's got some of my favourite Beatles tracks on here. You've got Hide Your Love Away, Ticket to Ride, I've Just Seen a Face, Yesterday, of course. Yeah, great album. Slightly surpassed because it doesn't contain Act Naturally by A Hard Day's Night. That was really the difference between the two albums. When I listened to them, I thought, yeah, they're pretty much equal, except for Act Naturally. So at number 7, yeah, we have A Hard Day's Night. Again, some just classic tracks on this, what I really love. If I Fell, And I Love Her, Tell Me Why, Can't Buy Me Love, I'll Cry Instead, You Can't Do That, and so many others. Title track. Yeah, great album. Some really strong songs. So number 6 is The Beatles, aka The White Album. Love the album, obviously. Possibly a little bit too long. I'm not one of these who says, oh, it would make a great single album. No, it makes a great double album. It's, as Paul McCartney says, it's the Beatles' White Album. However, I don't know why, but I do feel it does sort of drag towards the end ever so slightly. Again, I'm nitpicking here for ranking purposes. I'm not a fan of Revolution 9. I don't skip it. I never skip tracks on any album I listen to. but it's not an, you know, if somebody said, oh, let's play 5 tracks from the White Album, Revolution 9 would never be in those 5. But there's some great stuff on here. I like the obvious, you know, poppy tracks like Back in the USSR, Obla Dee Obla Da, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I know it's not really poppy, but, you know, more mainstream tracks, shall we say. Things like that. But I also love the weirdness. Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill, I love. Happiness is a Warm Gun, I love. I'm So Tired, I love. Why Don't We Do It in the Road, I love. You know, all those sort of tracks, the less obviously mainstream ones, I do love a lot. But yeah, it's just, there are 5 other Beatles albums I'd put on before I put this one on. Really. And the 5th one of those is Magical Mystery Tour. So yes, is it really an album? No, it was only an EP in the UK, and we've been attacked by a willow. Is it really an album? I mean, no, it was an EP in the UK, and then they've added some singles tracks to bulk it up to an album in the US, and it is what has become the album. But I mean, what tracks they've added and what an original EP it was. Possibly Flying I could do without, but I don't dislike it at all, and I'm happy to listen to it, but I don't think the album would be any worse without it on. But other than that, personally, I love Your Mother Should Know. I know it is a bit of one of McCartney's musical type songs, but yeah, personally I love it. Yeah, pretty much, other than, as I say, Flying, it's pretty much perfect. You know, the additional tracks, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love. Mwah. Really, you know, it's a really good listen, this album. Okay, top 4. And at number 4, Sgt Pepper. It's a great album. Hit myself in the face with it. It is a great, great album. It's, you can sort of see why it's become this figurehead for the Beatles, if you like. You know, it's what people associate the Beatles with most is Sgt Pepper. It's their most recognisable album. It's the one everybody sort of knows the name of, and, you know, obviously a huge seller and gets all the hype. It, you know, because it was their first one where they really played in the studio, they were experimenting with that sort of, oh, she's back, what do you want? We'll see what mayhem she brings. Yeah, because, you know, they'd stopped touring, so they could experiment more in the studio. That obviously shines on this. Oh, sorry. Say hello to the ladies and gentlemen. Say hello. There you are. Right, where was I? Yes, just, you know, they had the time to experiment, and that certainly shows. I think the only reason, really, that this is down a bit is that I've never been a lover of Within You Without You. You know, some of George's tracks are some of my favourite Beatles tracks, and it's tough between him and Paul, who's my favourite solo Beatle, but no, Within You Without You has never done anything for me. Probably my favourite track on here is She's Leaving Home. I just love that track. I know it's very simple, but it's a beautiful track. But obviously Day of My Life as well, and the other obvious classics. So yes, I can understand all the hype. Certainly the best cover, etc. But Within You Without You just knocks it down for me. And, you know, we're talking everything from... Where should we go? So, Help gave... I don't know quite. I'm just thinking where I'd start the 10s. Probably, because I stopped telling you what I'd scored them, I'd probably give 9.5 for the White Album, and then 10s for everything else. My third favourite, and this is one probably up until I was re-listening, probably would have been above Sgt Pepper, possibly, sorry, would have been below Sgt Pepper, possibly even below Magical Mystery, but when I re-listened to it I realised just what a great album it is. Number 3 is Rubber Soul. Yeah, faultless, really. Just some great songs, the beginning of their druggy side of them, so it's a bit more experimental, less straightforward pop. But I mean, particular favourites for me are Norwegian Wood, Nowhere Man, The Word, Michelle I've always loved, A Girl with its tit 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 tits, In My Life, but so many others as well. It's, as I say, faultless album, just absolutely magnificent. Rubber Soul. My second favourite Beatles album is Abbey Road. It's just a masterpiece. Obviously, famously, you know, side 2 and the medley. But personally, the highlights for me are the bookends to the first side. Come Together and Something at the start. Just 2 obviously really well-known tracks and possibly overplayed tracks, but 2 magnificent tracks. And then I Want You, She's So Heavy. Just amazing. I just love that track. It just does something to me gutturally, you know. It's just great track. But yeah, another faultless album, absolutely magnificent. Abbey Road, which means, and I did sort of hint at this earlier, my favourite Beatles album is Revolver, has been for many years. Again, absolutely faultless, great songwriting, great performances. Possibly these 2 have George Harrison's best songs on them. White Album isn't too shabby either. But I mean, Taxman, Love You Too, and I Want to Tell You. 3 great tracks, particularly Taxman. I just love the opening of this album. Classic Eleanor Rigby, Yellow Submarine, which is, again, with Octopus's Garden and with a little help from my friends, probably Ringo's best performances with the Beatles. Good Day Sunshine, Gotta Get You Into My Life, which I absolutely adore. Obviously Tomorrow Never Knows, I mean, you know, real experimentation on that. But every track, Here, There and Everywhere, I'm Only Sleeping, you know, just glance at it, For No One, that's you know. Every single track on this is at least a 9 and most of them are 10s. It is just magnificent. And as an album as a whole, I know you might be thinking, well, if only some of the tracks are only 9s, how can it be 10 out of 10? Rounding up, basically. But I don't think any album is complete 10 out of 10 songs by anyone. No, even my favourite album of all time, Prince's The Gold Experience, there'd be 1 track that isn't a 10. But I'd still obviously give it a 10 out of 10 as an album. But yeah, part of that is the whole feel of the album, not just individual tracks. But when I say at least a 9, I'm only talking 1 or 2 tracks. Everything else would be a 10. Anyway, yeah, easily my favourite Beatles album, just masterful. There you go. That is my Beatles ranking. If I should have mentioned this at the start, but I did rank their singles a while back. So if you want to look back, you'll see that if you're interested. But yes, just great. And I'm hoping Discogs will randomly poke up some Beatles for my review videos as well, so that I can review some of these albums, because I want to talk about them, basically. Don't know what album ranking I'm going to do next. I want something a bit meaty. Prince is too meaty. That's going to take too long. That's going to have to be a special video. But somebody with a decent sized catalogue. Yeah, I'll have a think about that. I do intend doing PJ Harvey once the reissues are finished, but there's still a couple more to go on those, although they haven't been announced yet. But there should be another couple of those. We shall see. Yeah, but anyway, hope you found this interesting. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.